clinical recognition is kind of difficult unless you have a very high index of suspicion, because young children may present only with non-specific symptoms, just poor weight gain, low-grade fever, listlessness, etc. The clinical features that have been found most predictive of TBM include a duration of symptoms of more than 5 days. Earlier it was, like 2 weeks or so, but nowadays they say even if it's 5 days, start thinking of TB. A Glasgow Coma Scale score of less than 15, that is in older people, and a modified Glasgow Coma Scale score in children, or the presence of a focal neurodeficit, and lymphocytosis with neutrophils being less than 50% of total white blood cells. The strongest feature is a symptom duration of more than 5 days. So if you have a child who presents to you with meningitis or meningoencephalitis, has more than 5 days duration of symptoms with a focal deficit, keep TBM in your mind. Average duration between symptom onset and presentation being 5 to 30 days. That's why the 5 days, this means the earliest you want to catch them. However, unfortunately, most cases are brought late with varying degrees of coma and neurodeficit. So this is in our, we had these retrospective studies, and you find that fever may not be present in 100%. Seizures are present in half and cranial nerve involvement in a third to half. This is our PGI data, where we found that often children came to us late with raised ICP, altered sensorium, cranial nerve palsies, meningeal signs, etc. So this is a sad story of our country, that we still have so much of CNS TB. Traditionally, this has been divided into 3 stages. Stage 1, where the child is lucid with no focal neurodeficits or evidence of hydrocephalus. Stage 2, when there's lethargy, confusion, may have mild focal signs, but no, cranial nerve palsies, etc., or dense hemiplegia. Stage 3 is the advanced illness with delirium, stupor, coma, seizures, multiple cranial nerve palsies, etc. And stage 3 obviously is the worst prognosis. How about MAN2? You will get a MAN2 test done, but the sensitivity is only 61%. And if unfortunately there's associated HIV, then it goes down further. Positive test identifies exposure to TB, but not active TB, that you all know, I think. So in an immunocompetent child, you take more than 10 millimeters, but in an immunocompromised child, you take more than 5 millimeters as being positive. Getting an X-ray done and looking for radiological evidence of pulmonary TB, this is positive in about 60% of children. History of contact may be obtained in 30 to 50%, depending on how actively you pursue this, because generally people do not come out with this, so you have to ask leading questions. So what does a CSF look like in TBM? Typically, it is either clear or mildly xanthochromic, and the total counts vary from 100 to 500. Lymphocytic predominance is seen in majority of cases, although in the early stages there may be neutrophilic predominance. So please remember, this does not exclude the diagnosis of TBM. CSF count can be normal in children with depressed cellular-mediated immunity, such as in HIV. The opening pressure is raised in 50%, proteins are raised, glucose is low, and CSF is to blood sugar ratio is less than 50%. So it indicates an infective lymphocytic CSF. And this was our PGI data.